hi, heidi ho, bonjour, guten tag, and welcome to Cast That Movie, a podcast where two cinematic geeks re-envision and recast a failed film project from the past, and then we debate and defend our choices. As if that wasn't enough, we go one step further and dream up an original cinematic project that we want to see made. Then we cast that sumbitch something fierce. Good goddamn times. We also play games and stuff. My name is Joad McDougall, and joining me as always is the Bond of my Jovi, Tom Van Horton. Say hi to the listeners, Tommy, Tom.
Hi to the listeners, Tommy, Tom. I did it.
You done it.
I done did it. I done did it good.
Yeah. All right, well, we are on to our fourth episode, so we are still chugging along. And I gotta say, I think we are getting better with time. What are your feelings on our progression?
Oh yeah, it's exponential to me. Hands down. I think actually our last podcast has been my favorite thus far, and I just expect this one to be my next favorite.
Nice. Yeah, we'll just keep getting better and better, and we'll just have a new favorite podcast every other week. It's perfect.
I love it. I love the cadence.
So speaking of the last episode, as we do, let's go back and kind of rehash and go over some maybe corrections we might have, feel that we need to throw out there, or just general takeaways. What do you have on your docket?
So again, this segment has become Tom's corrections, but this time it's Tom's omissions.
Ooh.
And to be fair, I'm not going to get into all of it because I can't.
Mm-hmm.
The saga of Dune, of what it was and how it got made and everything that went into it, there is too much to cover in a podcast like this.
It's huge.
It's huge. It's huge.
It's so huge.
So huge. Huge, unlike my hands, which are tiny. So
no politics.
Politics. We're bringing in the politics.
No. Shut up and dribble.
Where's my diaper? God damn it. I'm not gonna. I mean, there's so much we didn't get to, and I know I talked to some people. You didn't talk about this. You didn't talk about that. We can't.
Start your own podcast.
Yeah, we can't do it. So that portion of it, the Dune things, yes, I know there was things that we didn't cover. There was things we didn't get into, and we're not going to get into it here.
Right.
The one thing I did want to bring up about the Late Night Wars, part 2, was, and I meant to say it and I didn't get a chance to, or just it didn't get to it in our banter.
Sure.
Was that in the part 1, the HBO series, what they did and what Jay Leno had done was he really blamed his agent for everything that happened during that first Late Night Wars and got this woman ostracized from Hollywood. Like, she does not have a job. She can't get anything because of how hard Jay Leno threw her under the bus. And that kind of vindicated him and made him look like the sympathetic character. And then the Late Night Wars part 2 happened, which I really wanted to point out should have vindicated that woman. And I don't know if she's ever going to get the vindication she deserves, but that is something that I really wanted to talk about last podcast, and we just didn't get a chance to.
Sure. Was she the character played by Kathy Bates in the original?
She was the character played by Kathy Bates in the original.
Right, okay.
Right. Yeah.
God, fuck Jay Leno.
Fuck Jay Leno, dude. That guy's a fucking asshole. And we cannot cast my Jay Moore. He is thrown out because as I was doing some research afterwards, like, hey, are they friends? They've done several podcasts and comedy things together.
Oh, no.
So fuck Jay Moore.
Yeah, see, and that just doesn't surprise me. They're both from that kind of broad, just lowest common denominator realm of stand-up, I guess. Everything I've seen Jay Moore do, I've always just kind of rolled my eyes at. I'm like, God, really? This guy's not inventing any wheels over here. I mean, it's just, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I'm not a fan of either of those guys, and, you swung and you missed on that pick, but I'm sure I've on many of mine, and I probably will in this episode as well. So it is what it is. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the Jay Moore either.
Oh, one more thing, because you totally brought that into mind. Thank God I didn't write this down, and I should have, but you totally jarred my memory. I had made mention that Sean Astin was a shitty person.
Yes.
Wrong.
Good. Oh,
Wrong. And I had seen it because he had done some political stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the people that were bitching were right-wingers. He's done a lot of humanitarian things. He's gone and done. I mean, I looked into it afterwards because I'm like, God, you know, because I always want to make sure, you know, when we do things like that.
Especially when it comes to Rudy.
Mm-hmm. Rudy and Mikey and my Sam and Bob. No, really, actually amazing dude. And so I do want to make that huge correction as well.
Yeah, that's important. I'm glad you did that. And I'm glad that's the truth, because yeah, that really did kind of jar me a little to hear that he might not be such a nice poison. I'm happy to hear that he's in fact a great poison.
He's a great poison.
So that's awesome. The only one I can really think of on my end, and again, you tend to listen to these a lot more than me, listening to them over again. And that's not like I think I explained it to you this way. It's just, I struggle to listen to my own voice. It makes me just want to cringe. I'm a little like, Johnny Depp, Adam Driver, those guys. Not that I'm comparing myself talent-wise, because fuck me. But I mean, it's kind of the same realm where Johnny Depp infamously doesn't watch his projects, and Adam Driver, has got that same kind of thing going on. I don't like read this. I listen to it once, just, when I'm putting it all together and editing it and whatnot. That's about it. But the one thing I'm pretty sure I did hear myself screw up on is when we were discussing at some point, I believe, Stephen King, and I think I referred to his original pen name,
Richard Bachman.
Did I not say Robert Bachman?
Oh, did you say Robert Bachman?
I think I did.
You might have. And I also want to point out, since we are doing the corrections here.
Hey, by the way, before you do that, little game. Go back and listen to episode 3. See if I was wrong or not, listeners. If you haven't yet, and that'll be a nice little Easter egg in there for you. If I in fact called Stephen King Robert Bachman instead of Richard Bachman. But go ahead.
One thing I'm going to call you out on is you kind of compared his Bachman to Alan Smithy, and that's not really a good comparison.
It really isn't. Yeah, no, I thought about that.
That's more of a Chris Garth what's his name? Garth Brooks, Chris Gaines type of thing, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah,
that would have been disavowing his work.
Right. No, that's totally fair. That is different entirely, and a terrible comparison. So
it's not a terrible comparison.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I can own that though.
Kick yourself in the nuts.
I just will. So I think that kind of wraps up our revisitation to the previous episode. So let's move on to what we are trying to accomplish in this episode. And dear God, we for anybody that's seen us trying to hype this up, we kind of swung for the fences here and put ourselves in a very vulnerable position to look like complete morons with what we chose to do with our recast. I'm going to let you announce what that's going to be to those who are not privy to that information yet.
The fucking Room.
Tommy Wiseau's The Room. Oh my God, this was so hard. This was so hard, and we'll get to it obviously when we get to that segment. But I just gotta say, I knew it was going to be a minefield, and it was. It really was.
It was a total minefield. And I went a different direction with this. And I'm not going to give anything away yet. But yeah, I think you're going to be really interested in the take I went with my room.
I would say I think you will be interested in the route I chose to go with my room. So yeah, it's going to be a fun talk, if nothing else, and we may come out of it. As I said, on Facebook, there may be blood. I mean, this might be the one that we come out the other side, and it's going to take us a few days to recover from. But that's okay, though. That's part
It
of the
might.
fun, right?
It is part of the fun. And for those of you, I will be going into extensive behind the scenes things that may even contradict the book and the official information about the background of the room.
Nice. Okay, so that's going to be a great time. Our contemporary dream project then that we will be casting is called the Brat Pack. And those familiar with 80s Hollywood, the Brat Pack are the group of actors. You saw them in a bunch of John Hughes projects, things of that ilk. So we'll get into the details of who they are down the road further in the episode when it comes time for it. But that's going to be what our contemporary dream project's going to be, and that should also be fun. It's always fun to cast yourself, a Rob Lowe or a Judd Nelson, wouldn't you say?
Oh, God, I had fun with this.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one.
You're going to have to, I'm sure you're going to have to look up a lot of my picks.
Yeah, I was going to say I would encourage you to have your phone at the ready, and to be ready to IMDb some of mine as well. They are a little more obscure, but I think, when you're casting a bunch of 20-somethings, that's not surprising. People that are just kind of at the beginning of their careers, as these guys were when they were the Brat Pack. They were just kind of, breaking out, and they were a thing that was just starting to come together and become a thing. So I think that will do it then for our preview of what's to come. I think we should probably go to our first ad break, unless you had anything else you wanted to add, Tom.
No, nothing that can't be added later. Let's do her.
All right, let's go to our first ad break, and we'll come back with more show. You know what we need to do, Tom?
What's that, Joad?
Make America great again.
Not going to lie, that surprises me coming from you.
That's right, folks. Revetica Innovations is proud to announce their latest must-have kitchen appliance, the T5000 All-Purpose Automatic Cheese Grater.
Oh, great. I get it now.
Made of the most stainless of steel and accompanied by a lifetime warranty, it's the finest, most reliable hands-free cheese grater on the market.
You had me worried for a second there, if I'm being honest.
The T5000 all-purpose, hands-free, stainless steel automatic cheese grater from Revetica Innovations. Find it at all stores that end in Mart today, because it's time to make America great again.
It sure is.
Hashtag Trump 2020.
What the fuck?
That's what their copy says.
Just a fool like the rest of them, sifting through ashes.
Okay, and welcome back, folks.
What the fuck was that, dude?
Welcome back to Cast That Movie. Yeah, I don't know. I think we might need to start having some sort of a disclaimer that we do not support whatever, that they have on, what are those things? The things that are on at 3 a.m. Telemercials?
Yeah, the telemercials,
Yeah.
dude? Seriously?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not okay with that ad that we did.
Yeah, they really snuck that in there too, and they just knew, they must have known that if it's on the copy, I'm going to read it. I don't read them ahead of time.
You are a Ron Burgundy in that regard.
I am.
Whatever's in front of you.
It's going to go from page to mouth, as it did. So sorry for that to anybody that was taken aback. This podcast does not officially endorse any candidate for president, but we certainly don't endorse that candidate for president. Anyway.
No. Fuck my life. All
right. So let's do what we tend to usually do coming out of our first break. Talk about some casting news. I don't really have anything, but I understand that you do. What do you have for us to discuss on casting news, Tom?
Yeah. So I've been paying attention because I'm all things geek. And I have been cautiously optimistic since it's been announced for the Amazon series, the Lord of the Rings prequels.
Ooh, sure.
And I mean, they're pumping massive bucks into this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it has will be a 5-season, and they're pumping in $1 billion in the production. It will be the most expensive thing done, because they have that Amazon money. So they basically allotted $200 million per season. Well, they came out with the cast, and they haven't said who's going to play what, but they said these are the actors that are associated with it. I'm going to need your help. I don't know if I'm this far out of touch, or if they just got a bunch of nobodies cheap, which concerns me.
Before you give me the names and I tell you if they have come across my radar at all, just remember, I mean, Game of Thrones, aside from the Sean Bean, who some people even to this day forget about now and then, they sure do. And they do not feel great about it afterwards. Aside from him, they really didn't, that first season cast was a lot of relative unknowns. Maybe a lot of them were, I guess, more well-known across the pond, some British shows, BBC productions, things like that. But so that doesn't concern me. Odds are, if it's done well, as, Game of Thrones was, especially at the start, we're not going to care that we didn't know who they were prior to the first season. They're going to become the characters, and we're going to, identify them as that character for the rest of their lives. But why don't you give me a couple names here, and I will tell you if I am familiar.
Sure. So I took down a bunch of names and what they were associated with, according to this article.
Okay.
So Robert Aramayo, who was in Galveston.
What is Galveston?
I don't know, right? This is why I'm hoping you can help me with this. Owain Arthur, who was in Hard Sun. Nazian Bonadi, who was in Hotel Mumbai.
I did see Hotel Mumbai. Do you know what role he played in that?
I don't know. I don't know what role. I can, you know what? Since we got a little bit of time here, I'll just look this up and we can see if we can maybe find the role that they played. In Hotel Mumbai. That's been on my radar. I just haven't seen it.
It's worth watching.
It's she, and she was filmography here. Let's see here. She's been in a few things. She was Zahara.
Okay, I don't. It's been a while since I've seen it. I don't know if that was Dev Patel's love interest in it or not love. I don't know. I can't really remember much of the plot. I'm just glad to hear it wasn't just like terrorist number 3,
right?
Or some character like that. So anyway, why don't you continue and I will hopefully
Tom
get
Budge.
One of these. Tom Budge.
Yep, who was in Gallipoli?
Gallipoli?
Gallipoli. Excuse me.
Know the movie, don't know the name.
Okay. Morfred Clark, who was in Crawl. Ismael Cruz Cordova, who was in Miss Bala. Emma Horvath, that was in The Gallows Act 2.
Wow.
Markella Kavanagh, who was in The Gloaming, which I didn't really care for The Gloaming. Joseph Molly, who was in Ripper Street. Didn't care for Ripper Street. Megan Richards, who was in Wanderlust. Dylan Smith, who was in Treadstone. Charles Vickers from Medici. And Dylan Wyman, who was in Gentleman Jack.
Oh.
I don't know any of these. I mean, I knew 2 of them because they're terrible horror movies.
Sure.
And that doesn't, and they weren't good.
Right. It's not they're not reassuring picks.
They're not reassuring picks.
Yeah, I didn't know any of them by name. I'm sure I'd recognize at least a couple of their faces, but nobody that's got me as excited as Sean Bean would have back in the day. Whatever though. I mean, if they found genuine talent, they're all like, all I care, get all your actors out of Australia anyway, because that's where all the best actors come from somehow.
And Robert Downey Jr. proved that in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, well, he proved a lot of things in Tropic Thunder. But I don't know. If they're putting the money towards, making it look amazing and they're finding cheap talent that just haven't found that breakout project yet, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to prejudge it because I don't know any of the people like that.
No, and I have to imagine that this is a big deal to Amazon. Like, they need this to work.
Right.
So, but yeah, I just was curious because I was looking at these names and I'm going, am I supposed to know any of these people? Like, this is a big announcement, and
Yeah. Okay. Well, as time goes on here and we get closer to it, I'm sure it's gonna. I don't know if they've set a release date, but I'm sure it's a little ways out yet, right?
yeah, it's a little ways out yet. And I don't know if there is an official release date yet.
Okay. Well, we will put a pin in that one and return to it at a later date. Well, like I said, I don't got nothing for casting news, and that's probably good because we should probably get this storm a rolling here because we are going to now dive into recasting Tommy Wiseau's 2003 disaster piece, The Room. Tom, I know you've been waiting for this. What it is, Tommy?
Holy fuck! How do you go about even describing The Room? If first of all, if you haven't seen The Room, just see it. It's a religious experience is the best way I can describe it, especially if you don't know what you're going into. Much like me when you came to my house and watched it with me. This movie blew me away. It's the quintessential of bad acting. It is akin to Plan 9 from Outer Space. I mean, this is Ed Wood level terribleness. And boy, oh boy, it was plagued with a shit ton of problems. And the thing with it is that this is one of those passion projects. And Joad, if you ever watched a movie, to me, it's a warning sign when you see directed by, produced by, written by, and starring by the same person.
Mm-hmm.
That is typically a recipe for a terrible movie.
Right.
Right. I am hellbent. I'm sure there's one or two out there that were not terrible, but most of those ones, like as soon as I'm going through the cast, I'm like, I've seen this name 3 times. Oh fuck, this guy's starring in it. This is gonna suck.
Yeah, I mean, even John Krasinski had the good sense to give his wife the starring role of A Quiet Place. So yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. And before you kind of go into some of these problems, going back to when we first watched this together, because the first time we had seen it was together.
Yes.
And this would have been probably about 10, 11 years ago, right? Does it sound about right?
It came out in 2003.
It came out in 2003, but we didn't discover it till well after.
I think it was like 5 or 6, right? Didn't we discover?
No, it was later than that because
Okay.
how I know is that I remember how we watched it was I saw an article in Entertainment Weekly about it and how it at that point in the late aughts had started, growing this cult following. And a lot of like celebrities, like Jonah Hill, James Franco, like those types were really like hyping it as just this kind of like latter day, Rocky Horror experience, midnight movie feature type thing. And so having read that, I'm like, well, this sounds like the perfect movie for Paul and I to watch. So I rented it through Netflix back when Netflix sent you DVDs in the mail.
I remember that. Yep, you came with the Netflix DVD.
Yep. And I lived out of town at the time and drove up to see it with you.
Right.
So that's how I know it was, like 09, 10, somewhere in that ballpark. But yes, we put it in and watched it. And both of us, just from the start, were, we neither of us knew that much about it. I knew only what I'd read in this, Entertainment Weekly article, which they don't go into much depth and detail in Entertainment Weekly articles. And I think you were pretty much completely fresh to it. So we watched it. We're blown away by how terrible and awful it was. And then, right after that, of course, went into a Wikipedia, rabbit hole to try to learn about it, as much about it as we could. But yeah, I mean, my impression of the movie always has been that it's a terribly amateurish production by a European trying to make what he thinks Americans, a movie about what Americans actually are like. Somebody that's not really tuned into the culture. It's very soap opera-ish. It's, as you said, terribly acted. But, beyond that, and beyond it being just a vanity project, it's it's so empty. Like there's no there. There's no insight to the human condition. It's just all stuff you maybe would have picked up by, catching bits of Dynasty, or Dallas, or, Days of Our Lives, all these terrible shows, growing up, catching them, and then like, I'm going to make a movie now that's, going to be, I don't know, a romance. It wasn't really a romance. I don't know what it really was. I think it was supposed to be a tragedy, I guess.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Certainly wasn't meant to be a comedy, which most people now, put it in
No.
that box, but
No, it was not supposed to be a comedy. Boy, I think it was The Simpsons that had the joke. I learned all my English from Police Academy movies. And it's like if someone had learned all their English from a Police Academy movie and then tried to make a drama. Is really what this movie is. And no, you nailed it. It was originally a 500-page book play.
what?
And because he was doing plays at the time. Well, then he was, if you watch The Disaster Artist and have read the book goes into a lot of things that aren't in the movie, but the book is still from a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Even though Tommy Wiseau comes out of some of a prick in the book, in the movie, it's still in a positive light.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, and I have seen the movie. We should mention the book was written by Greg
Sinestro.
Yes, who played Mark in the movie.
He plays Mark. And he was living with Tommy Wiseau. And what flipped this from a play to a movie was that they were both struggling actors. And Greg got the part for Retro Puppet Master and was terrible in it. It's a really tough watch, and I love shitty horror films. But this put Tommy Wiseau into basically a jealous rage that Greg went and did this movie and didn't tell him, and it created just this weird dynamic between the two, and then he went around trying to get this movie done. Well, and you learn in the movie, apparently Tommy Wiseau has an unlimited pocketbook and to get this done. Well, in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, he said that he made his money by importing leather jackets from Korea. So he was taking designer leather or importing knockoff leather jackets and selling them as the designer ones. And he made a boatload of money that way. And then Greg Sinestro said that he had gotten into real estate. And so he'd taken this money that he was making from importing jackets from Korea into real estate in Los Angeles and San Francisco. And we talked a little bit about this in our Twin Peaks podcast, that once you get into real estate in San Francisco, you're set. You are set. You sell one house in San Francisco, you have made bank.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you really need to do. Well, he spent $6 million of the budget for production and marketing. And the film was relatively expensive for what, and when you look at it, it's not an expensive movie.
No.
But Wiseau had these sets built for sequences instead of filming on location. He purchased unnecessary equipment. And what I mean by unnecessary equipment, he bought the Burns and Sawyer's film lot. He went and bought this, quote, complete beginning director's package, which included 2 film and HD cameras. And he was confused at the difference. So he made this custom apparatus to film in both 35 millimeter and high def at the same time and went, we'll figure it out when it's done. All right. As you do. And the scenes had to be filmed multiple times using different sets because Wiseau himself would forget his line and his places on camera. And they go into this a little bit in the movie, but it's hard to show that this was adding days to the shoot. Like they do these montage sequences, but this was actually taking days into the shoot.
Mm-hmm.
They lost a shit ton of actors on this. There's a minor character who played Steven, who was the psychiatrist or who was the friend of Johnny and Lisa.
Cheap.
Yes. He bailed after he just couldn't take it anymore. He said, fuck this, I'm out. Well, there's some disputes about some of the things that happen behind the scenes. The actress that played Lisa, eventually was Juliette Danielle. She was the fourth pick. They don't go into that. And she was the understudy of the understudy of the understudy. And she showed up fresh off the bus from Texas. And day one, when Wiseau got her in the set, did the love scene, did the infamous love scene, which explains why it is so fucking off.
Oh yeah.
Now
it's very uncomfortable to watch. Very uncomfortable.
Now, Greg, being Mark's friend, has disputed this, but other members on the set have said, no, that's really what fucking happened. So this is like, there's just so much. And the character that in The Disaster Artist, and I forget which part of filming he was, but the character that Seth Rogen played was so offended by the book and the movie and going, this is not what fucking happened, that he's making his own. And a lot of the actors and set people are coming forward and saying, this is what it was really like.
He's writing his own book, you're saying?
He's writing his own
Sure.
book to basically say, this is, for as much as, Greg is saying these things happen, it didn't go down like this. It was a lot fucking grimier. It was a lot worse. It was worse than what you saw. The film employed over 400 fucking people. I don't get it. But it got to the point where Mark Sestro was a line producer, helped with casting, was an assistant. They were doing rewrites every day. People were coming in and doing things and missing. I mean, it was, I wish we would have gotten a better movie than The Disaster Artist, because while it was funny, there's a lot more that went on that are just like, this needs to be like a true documentary.
Yeah, and one thing I really take issue with on The Disaster Artist is the way it ended, and implying that at the premiere it was instantly seen as this funny, cult comedy in waiting or whatever, and that Tommy Wiseau was immediately like embracing. He first, I believe, if I remember right, he walks out of the theater because people are laughing at his movie, but then he, gently melts into accepting that, oh, okay, this is what I've made, which of course is what he's done now. Now he still claims it wasn't meant to be funny, but he rides with it these days. At the time, he was very upset that people were not appreciating his vision, right?
Oh, 100%. This was supposed to be the next Streetcar Named Desire.
Right.
This was supposed to be the serious. This was going to vindicate all the shit that he went through and being called a weirdo and whatnot. And to circle back to what you said earlier about what it's about, supposedly the original play was about a relationship that Tommy Wiseau himself had in his youth. Yeah, supposedly. But then, again, and this goes back and forth because of how Tommy talks about in interviews, and he's gone as far as suing people that have given the movie a bad review on YouTube.
Yes.
And getting their stuff taken down and doing these things. There is actually, there was a talked about this in our podcast, not a podcast, but off the air, me and Joe Fremming did, that there is a group that's kind of doing this behind the scenes kind of documentary about something, and they found something on Tommy that he doesn't want shown, and they've gone to court for years over it.
Damn.
Like there is some really crazy shit to the point where supposedly in the room, there was supposed to be a subplot in which Johnny was revealed to be a vampire.
Oh, that would have been a better movie.
It would have been a better movie. But yeah, so a lot of what is said between Greg and Tommy Wiseau and here, and why I really want to read the other book that the cast is going to make, the cast members going to make, is because Tommy changes his story constantly throughout the years. He has proven that you can't trust what he says, because we'll say in one interview he'll contradict himself in another interview.
Sure.
So I would love to see no, this is what it is, and the fact that the other cast members are coming forward and saying this is going to be the real story.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's a lot to unpack. So should we just kind of get into, first off, of course, assigning, we say director, but, when we say director, we're saying like a visionary, just somebody to take the reins of this, to make it what it wasn't. And, before we even do that, I should say, I mean, this is very sensitive territory because The Room is kind of, the terrible movie that it is, it's taken on a life of its own, right, in our meme-friendly world. It's become beloved in a way, in its own unique way. I in college I took a film studies class, and day one we watched this movie. I had already seen it at the time. A lot of the other students hadn't, but that just tells you that like it's permeated throughout pop culture now to the point that it not being there, something would be missing. But I guess my argument would be that if we didn't know we had it, I don't think we'd miss it. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense to me, and I'm even going to go farther than you on this, because, I tear apart things I love, like Dune last week, and one of the things that we do with the Twin Peaks podcast, which is a show I hold in high esteem. I tear that bitch apart when it deserves its due. The Room to me is a cultural phenomenon fad. In 20 years, I don't think it's going to be revered as it is today. This is not going to stand the test of time like Rocky Horror Picture Show did, or other true cult classics.
Right.
This is a train wreck that people enjoy watching, and Tommy Wiseau is not in on the laugh; he's being laughed at. So I kind of go from a different point of view, where some people might go, I really love The Room. Well, then I don't want to really know your opinion on any other movie, because I quote love The Room, but I'm in on the joke.
I love to quote The Room.
Yeah, I love to quote The Room. I love to make fun of The Room, but my God, it's not something that I'm going to sit there and go, this needs to be on my shelf and fuck everybody that doesn't get The Room. There's nothing deep here. There's
no,
art.
You're not learning. Again, there's nothing about the human condition that's shining through, it's just bad. It's, motel
This
art on screen. I mean, it's, almost literally if your motel has pictures of forks hanging on their walls. Let's move on then to picking a visionary director to reimagine, and what would they do with it? How would they change it? What would it look like? When you juxtapose it against the 2003 Tommy Wiseau version, Passion Project, The Room.
I'm going to start with you because I'm going to throw you a monkey wrench after.
Sure. Okay, I can do that. So what I decided to do is we're going to go dark. We're just going to go dark with it. We're going to Tommy's character, Johnny, that he plays. I don't know if we ever learn his last name. Johnny is not a good guy in any sense of the word. Johnny has got some mental hang-ups. Of course, he's written sympathetically because, again, it's a vanity project for Tommy Wiseau. He's always a victim of women, is a big thing. So I'm going to keep that kind of, not protagonist, but like the center point of the movie is going to be a Johnny type character, but he's going to clearly be unwell. He's going to clearly be a victim of his own poor decisions in life and whatnot. He's going to have a persecution complex, things like that. And so I decided I wanted to go with a female director visionary who made a movie right around that time that kind of hits on the tone that I would want for my dark, more twisted version of The Room. And that would be one Patty Jenkins. Now, she is best known recently in her career for helming Wonder Woman and its sequel, which is coming out soon, Wonder Woman 1984.
1984,
But her big break, the movie that put her on the map, was Monster, starring Charlize Theron.
Oh, shit, she did do that.
She did do that. That was her big first one.
Yeah, that fucking.
So I want Patty Jenkins circa 2003 to make The Room, and I want her to take on, toxic masculinity, all the stuff that this movie really is showing us, but wrapping it in a cute foreign accent, as Tommy Wiseau did, and just awful, terrible dialogue and unbelievable characters. I say fix those things and have the movie actually have something to say, and I think she could do it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you a choice, buddy.
Okay.
You're going to pick A or B.
I like it.
So what do you got, A or B?
Oh, I'm going to pick without even knowing what they are.
And then I'm going to tell you what I did. Yep, right side on scene. A or B.
Ooh. I'm going to go B.
Fantastic. All right. So you're going to tell you what you didn't get. You didn't get the Kevin Smith The Room.
Oh, good.
I went with this, and I looked at it from a point of this is a vanity project.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something where, Tommy has done, what was it, Best Fiends Friends thing? I don't understand how it's pronounced. He went on. But I wanted to make The Room, and the way that I looked at it was actors that have visionary passion project actors. Mm. So what you ended up picking was the Wes Anderson's The Room.
Wow.
And I have an entire vision for that. So this is now a Wes Anderson project because
wow. So you had a Kevin Smith lineup all ready to go as well?
I had a Kevin Smith lineup all ready to go as well.
We got to make that some sort of a bonus on like our Facebook page or something. Or something, just listing who would have been in because we obviously don't have time to go into two versions on your end right now. But
I did have two different visionary directions of what it would have been like as a Kevin Smith movie and what it would have been as a Wes Anderson movie.
Wow. So I'm curious for both, but yeah, I would always go Wes Anderson. No matter what the project, I go Wes Anderson over Kevin Smith. Unless it's a Jay and Silent Bob movie.
And I will say that Jason Mewes was going to be my Denny. But since the Wes Anderson project, this is very much now in line with the Royal Tenenbaums.
Sure.
This is about the time when Royal Tenenbaums came out. So this would have been something along the lines of this is a dysfunctional family, but what Wes Anderson did with Royal Tenenbaums with a high-class rich family, he did now with this apartment dwelling ridiculous setup.
I got a tease here. You saying all this, I am starting to wonder if we didn't land on one similar casting choice. I'm not going to say which one, but we'll when we get to it, we'll know, you'll know because I'll do my pick on that one first, and I'll anyway. Well, let's start with Johnny. Of course, it's not Johnny. I can say that much.
Yep, it's not Johnny.
So why don't you go first on Johnny?
Of course, it's a Wes Anderson project, so
sure.
I had to pick between one of the two Wilson brothers, and I went with Luke.
Okay.
Luke Wilson is going to be the woman-hating, depressed banker that is just his life spiraling out of control. And we've seen Luke Wilson do it a million times, so he can totally nail that role.
So I mean, just tonally, I mean, obviously Wes Anderson movies have a pre-baked definition, of what to expect. Mm-hmm. That being said, I would say there's definite differences between some of them. I'd say Bottle Rocket is different than
very different. Bottle Rocket
Tenenbaums,
was movie too. Yep.
Right. Would it be more like in the kind of a little bit rougher around the edges, kind of Wes Anderson, like Bottle Rocket, or would it be
this is
clean
Steve
and
Zissou.
polished?
This is
Steve Zissou?
Yeah,
Nice.
This is Steve Zissou. I mean, the framing, the fact that you had all the spoons and the forks on the wall, the fact that you had the whole scene with the dogs and everything like that. This is total Wes Anderson, just his with those colors and the framing and everything. Oh yeah. Yep.
Nice. I'm intrigued. Okay, well, let's go to my pick. We'll be debating our picks later for those not familiar with our format. So we're going to revisit these. We're not just going to give them and then go on. We'll come back to them. But for my darker, monster adjacent Patty Jenkins led The Room, I went with an actor that can really do it all because I want like a hint of, the offbeat. I want somebody that can play it serious, can, be raw and real, but also can just have that unsettling, that spark that can unsettle you and even make you laugh. I went with Christopher Maloney, who's best known as Gene on Wet Hot American Summer.
It's so funny. I have to bring this. I've been on a kick. I've been watching that all last weekend. I was watching First Day of Camp and 10 Years Later.
Nice. I love those.
Love him. Love him.
Yeah, he's amazing, and I think he's an actor enough that he would, even when he plays silly, and he gets silly at times in this telling as well. I mean, you can't tell any sort of iteration of the room that you try to put together can't be told with a completely straight face, because it's a ridiculously, at times very dumb story, but I just think if you cast it well and you got the right person in charge that can fix everything, or at least most of the things wrong with it, because there was so much wrong with it, I think he kind of just rose to the top of my list. He's got enough of the Tommy Wiseau look about him, not a doppelganger, but I mean, he's who I settled on, and I'm proud of that one.
You should be proud of that. It's a good pick.
So let's then go. I had you start with Johnny. I'm going to actually have you start with Lisa as well, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. You want me to start with Lisa? Okay. So who would you pick for your mark then? To go with Christopher, or are we going to go right to Lisa?
I was going to say, let's go to Lisa next and then go to Mark
Lisa.
after.
Okay, so it's a Wes Anderson project, and she's been used in some of his movies. Cameron Diaz.
What? Oh, you lost me now. What Wes Anderson movies has Cameron Diaz been in?
Oh, man.
I can think Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah. Diaz. Let's see here. Wes Anderson. She was in, which one was it? She was in Moonrise Kingdom, dude.
Cameron Diaz, no. I don't.
No. Well, okay. Did I pick the wrong? Did I pick the wrong person? Look at me. How bad am I?
Oh.
How bad am I? Oh my God. Yes, you're right. I picked the wrong fucking person.
Who are we trying to pick?
We were trying to pick Gwyneth Paltrow. What the fuck? This, wow.
601, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah, you did Sean Bean, and I totally. How did I get those two? No, it's not 60. What was I thinking, bro? Yes, I wrote down the wrong name. Yes, it was Gwyneth Paltrow.
You have not been following your goop instructions properly.
I haven't. I apparently not. I got to get a vagina candle. Wow, I can't believe I made that mistake. I am angry with myself. There is blood.
Yeah, there's blood. There's blood. There's
blood already.
Yes, accurately teased. Okay, so my Lisa was kind of breaking out right around this time. She would have been definitely younger than Christopher Maloney, so we would have had that dynamic, because that's certainly the dynamic of the original Room. I picked Evan Rachel Wood, who was kind of breaking out. I think 13 was her big breakout movie around that time, and then contemporarily, people know her, of course, from Westworld. So she would have been my choice as Lisa.
Nice. I like that.
So right. Now I want to go to Mark, because I got a very strange feeling we picked the same guy here. Paul, no, not. Oh, no, here, yes, my Mark. Okay. So let me ask you this. Tom. Did you pick Owen Wilson?
I did pick Owen Wilson.
As did I, friend. As did I.
Yeah.
Oh, he's everything that Greg, whatever his name is, just isn't. It's similar. It's a similar acting style, similar accent and delivery and cadence to everything, but just done professional. It's amateur versus professional. It's Little League versus Major League Baseball.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we picked the same mark. So that's 3 podcasts in 4 of them that we've picked someone.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. No, Owen Wilson was absolutely going to be opposite of Luke Wilson.
And that's crazy, because we both have very different directions we're going with our Room.
Right.
But it just says something that when you see Greg, you think Owen Wilson. And yep, he is Mark. All right, well, that was fun, but let's move on now to Denny. To me, maybe the most confusing character in the room is this kid, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Like, does he live in his own apartment? Or
he lives in his own apartment, and yet he's kind of adopted by them, and yet wants to have a threesome with them, and yet is going to school and dealing with a drug dealer. Denny's the weirdest fucking character ever written, dude.
So I'll go first here. I took somebody who was around that time was. He was also kind of just breaking out, coming into his own. Learned later on in life that he can play out there characters very well. I picked Shia LaBeouf.
Oh yeah. Shia LaBeouf could do it. I like Shia LaBeouf, but dude, when you hear mine, and I think you already know where I'm going with it because it's a Wes Anderson movie.
I have a couple ideas where you're going with it.
Dude, Jason Schwartzman.
Yep,
Jason Schwartzman. Give him that unibrow and let him be Danny.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be funny. That would be funny. Who do you got for Claudette, also known as Lisa's mom, who all we ever really learn about is that she's got breast cancer. And the conversation always seems to stop after that, and Lisa changes the topic on her.
I have a feeling we actually did not land on the same one.
I would say that's probably a pretty fair assessment here, because my pick has never been involved with Wes Anderson. I'm going to guess yours is, I know her name. It was Mama Tenenbaum.
No, it's not Angelica Houston.
Not Angelica Houston, okay.
Not Angelica Houston. It's actually someone that's never worked with Wes Anderson at all either.
Oh, wow.
No, but I love the woman, and if I could cast her in an elderly role, I'm going to do it. Motherfucking Betty White.
Wow.
I want her talking about breast cancer and how she got it. Nobody knows anything. Hell yeah.
Okay.
Betty White.
This is amazing. Not because we rested on the same person here. But when I tell you who my person is, you're going to see why I say this is amazing. My pick for Claudette, B. Arthur.
That's I was going to say, are we going to say Rue Clanahan? But yeah, I could see B playing it as well, dude.
Yeah.
That is exactly the same wheelhouse.
Yeah, we both were like, let's give it to a golden girl.
Let's give it to a golden girl. Oh yeah.
All right.
And B. Arthur deserved work, especially since God rest her soul. And her cock soul. That woman more manly than I ever could be, I guarantee you. Oh my God. I love B. Arthur. All right, let's talk about our
love
pick.
some B. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, I gotta say, it's really hard, I think, for either of us to give director to the other, because we both have such different ideas about what we would do with this. I love Wes Anderson.
Absolutely.
To the moon and back.
But I would love to see your version as well, because I would like to see a dark room,
Yes.
And it's so funny because I'm normally the one that goes dark in our friendship. I'm usually the one that goes way, way in the darker territory than you do. And so I think it's kind of funny that I landed on more the kind of the happy pastel.
Yeah. I mean, mine, like I said, mine would have dealt with he's obvious mental illness on top of the male toxicity or toxic masculinity or whatever. And it would have resulted in him, convinced these two were having an affair, which they weren't, which even in the real room, it's so thinly written that it almost feels like it's just what he's picturing in his head, which is all really, the whole movie is what Tommy Wiseau is picturing in his head, which is why it's so bad. But, in this version, he would be, assuming they're having an affair. They're not, but in the end, he would kill them all, then kill himself, and Denny finds the bodies. So that's how this one goes, and I think she could nail that. So are we probably just going to stick to, because we respect each other's picks. I can't, go with yours with the way I want it to go. I don't think Wes Anderson could do that kind of movie. And
right. No, I think we're fair. I think we're absolutely fair. That is that is a push. That is a draw.
Yeah, they're both good picks. For Johnny, we got Christopher Maloney versus, it sucks. I almost have to give it to you because when you can get the Wilson brothers to work together, who am I to stand in the way of that?
Right, and it sucks too because I love Christopher Maloney.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of his. My wife watched Law and Order, I think is what he was on.
Yes,
For a
SVU.
long time.
Yeah.
SVU. My wife loves that show, and God, he's a serious actor, and I love Happy,
Mm-hmm.
and I love Wet Hot American Summer. I think Christopher Maloney is super talented,
Yep.
but dude, I'm sorry. It's Wes Anderson. I gotta stick with my Luke
Yeah,
Wilson.
and I picked Owen Wilson for Mark, so I mean, it's not like it's a stretch to go to Luke. And Luke's done some dramatic stuff. He's done some, horror type things. Maybe not like serious drama so much, but I think he could. I think he could probably pull it off. So I'll give you Luke Wilson. Breaks my heart, but I'll give it to you.
Me too, actually, because God damn it, I was going to use Chris. I know I personally will pick Chris Maloney at some point.
We're gonna find a place for Chris Maloney in some project here down the road. Ain't
love
no doubt
that
about
guy.
it.
Love that guy. Okay, so Lisa's.
You have Cameron Diaz come Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yep.
And I hope I win this one, right?
You win.
Yeah.
You win. Yeah. No. Hands down, you win. We already know we both picked the same. Owen Wilson.
Yeah, that's a push.
So I had Jason Schwartzman, and you had
Shia LaBeouf. Ooh.
I'm keeping my Schwartzman, dude. I think he'd play a much funnier, creepier Denny.
Yeah, I don't know.
I love Jason Schwartzman, but also again, I've also been on that Wet Hot American Summer kick.
Sure.
So
sure. I mean, here's the thing: is if we went with Jason Schwartzman, then the joke would still be that this guy is obviously too old to be acting like he's 10 years old. And
yes, we are.
That would work fine with your project. That just wouldn't work. And as crazy as it sounds, like I think Shia LaBeouf in trying to be serious. Even this is Hole's era, Shia LaBeouf. For me,
he's younger.
Yeah. But I think it fits. It makes we would establish that he lives, he's like with a single mom in an apartment, in my version. He's not just this kid that just shows up and like, hey, I'm hanging out with you guys today, and then leaves 5 minutes later, because that's what everybody does in the room is they show up. Yeah.
Written as a play.
Right.
That never got readjusted. It's written as a play in a room. I mean, hence why it's called The Room.
Right.
I get that, and I think we're gonna push. I think we're gonna agree to stay with ours.
Yeah.
Because I don't see Jason Schwartzman unless you're adding a whole nother dark layer to your your movie. I don't think you want to go that far.
No. B. Arthur and the great Betty White. I don't know. Flip a coin.
Flip a coin.
You can make an argument for
either one of them.
Yeah.
You put them both in a casting room with me, and I'm gonna have to go.
Yeah.
Fuck! It's down to a coin flip, ladies.
Exactly. Damn, man, we did it. We came. There was something at the end of this.
There was.
I was worried when I first started trying to figure out what I wanted to do. First off, finding a director for this was really hard because I wanted somebody that I could make a justification for putting them in that position, because knowing ahead of time that I was going to mess big time with what the movie was as opposed to what I wanted it to be. So finding a director I could trust to do that was hard. And then forming a cast around them of people that could do serious work, but that could also go other places and weren't just soberingly serious the whole time. I feel good. I think you should feel good about yours too. I mean, it was an interesting experiment putting it all through a Wes Anderson lens, but it's something I'd watch. I can't say I wouldn't watch it.
Yeah, and the thing with it was that, again, I had the two. And actually, I had a third, but I didn't actually write it out. And the reason why is because I was like, you know what? This is a film that, if we're going to tackle The Room, has to be done by a director-writer that has their clan and has that same group they go to, because that's, this is a passion project. This is one of those things, and this is one of those movies where I also think that part of the problem with the casting was you needed a cast that had chemistry together.
Right.
That had done a lot of things together. And it really shows in this movie that there is none.
Yeah.
Here.
It's clear that a lot of them met each other the day before they started filming.
Right. So this was one of those things I looked at this and went, part of the reason why this is so bad is because none of these actors can click in any reasonable way.
Sure.
And they're being put through hell. So they really just fucking all despise each other at this point.
Right.
So it was either the Kevin Smith, the Wes Anderson, and then I started to go down to Tarantino because I'm like, it's all dialogue. I'm like, this is too easy to go with Tarantino.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
He would never do something like this.
No.
It's not sprawling enough,
It's
I mean,
not, although he kind of did with Hateful Eight down the road.
and I guess Reservoir Dogs was a big part of that was just one location as well. Almost all of it actually was one location.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know.
No, so I didn't make that one. So
Not enough violence.
Not enough fun. So I rather than doing like an addendum or a thing with the podcast, I'll just run through real quick.
Sure.
You can just react to what I had as Kevin Smith.
Okay.
So for Johnny, I had Dante, Brian O'Halloran.
Okay.
There's going to be another This Is a Bad Dante Day.
Yeah.
I had Randall as
Mark.
Jeff Anderson as Mark. I had Joy Lauren Adams as Lisa. I had Jay himself, Jason Mewes as Denny. And I still had Betty White as Lisa's mom.
Betty White transcends them all.
And I was like, put Betty White in a Kevin Smith movie. He'll get something out of her.
Oh, I like your Wes Anderson much better.
Yeah.
I don't know. Kevin Smith movies just can't get out of the way of being a Kevin Smith movie, and I don't know. I don't feel we'd have. With Wes Anderson, there's always something there. With Kevin Smith, it's hit or miss for me. It's a lot of just retread, and I don't know. I made the right pick. B was the right choice.
B was the right choice.
And it was your strongest choice because
I lost you. Technical difficulties. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, that's on me, guys. That's my fault. We would have thought it would have taken 4 episodes to do a technical error.
It's what happens when you do it live.
When you do it live, fuck it. You do it live.
But as I was saying though, I would have not conceded any of my picks to any of your Kevin Smith picks. So at least by picking your Wes Anderson people, you got Johnny, which was the only one that I gave you, and the only one you gave me was Lisa, and all the rest of them were pushes. So I would never have given something to Dante over Christopher Maloney. I don't care who the director is.
No. I would have been like, dude, Kevin Smith could work with Maloney. Fucking A. So I would have given it to you.
All right. Well, that was fun. That was
a lot of fun.
Yeah, a little shell shocked after all that, but we made it through. So we're going to go to another ad break real quick, and then we're going to come back and do more things.
Oh, we got games, and I got no pants on.
All right, we'll be back in a minute.
Hey, Joad.
Hey is for horses, Tom.
Not anymore, Joad. Not anymore.
Why, whatever could you mean, good sir?
The creators of Light as a Feather Bed, the only mattress made of 100% feathers on the market, have a new product. Would you like to hear about it?
Indubitably.
Not sure that's the correct usage of that word, Joad.
Get on with it.
Right. We're proud today to announce their latest product, the Manger Baby Crib.
Is that what it sounds like, Tom?
You're darn tootin', Joad. A crib mattress made entirely of hay, so your baby can sleep like Jesus once slept.
Well, if it's good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for my baby.
Indubitably. From the creators of Light as a Feather Bed, it's the Manger Baby Crib, made of 100% sun-dried hay. Go to lightasafeatherbed.com.org.us.uk today to treat your baby to the finest in Bronze Age comfort.
Indubitably. Alrighty then, welcome back to Cast That Movie. It's time to play our favorite episodic game. Is this Where Are They Now?
Indubitably.
Indubitably. All right, Tom, do you want me to start or you want to start? I always like to leave it up to you.
You start.
And that's what I love about it, is that you always let me go first because you're such a gentleman. You're such a guy.
I'm such a guy.
Such
I'm
a
a guy
guy.
guy. You're
All
such a
right.
guy.
I found actually a really good one, and I struggled for a bit. I really did. I was worried because I know your knowledge of pop culture history runs deep, and it's hard to find people that you wouldn't know the answer to whether or not I'm trying to pull a fast one on you, or if I'm telling you the straight God's honest. And just to remind everybody how this game works is I'm going to give a celebrity who is no longer in the limelight and tell Tom what they're up to these days. And the game comes into play when he decides if I am telling him the truth or if I am lying. And I guess let's just dive right into it here. So the person that I chose is one Andrew Shue, brother of Elizabeth Shue. Okay.
Go on.
So Andrew Shue, just to give you some background, the name may not ring a bell. He
does
started
not.
he started out with uncredited background roles in The Karate Kid, Vision Quest, Adventures in Babysitting, and Cocktail. But he is best
shit.
known for being plucked from relative obscurity by Aaron Spelling and cast as the role of Billy Campbell on Melrose Place.
Yes, he was. That's her brother. I didn't know if there was a relation
Face
with
to a
the
name,
shooter.
huh? Face to a
Yes.
name. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I got you there. So I'm going to start here. Before I get into what he's up to these days, I got to give a little background because that's kind of
Okay.
necessary here because neither of us, I can assume, knew much about Andrew Shue before this
I'll tell
very
you this
moment.
right now. I know shit about Andrew Shue.
You know shit about Shue.
I know shit about Shue.
All right, so after graduating from Dartmouth in 1989, Andrew Shue moved to Zimbabwe, where he simultaneously taught high school math at Founders High School and played for the Bulawayo Highlanders. At this time, he was the only white player in the Zimbabwe Premier League. The Highlanders went on to win the championship the year Shue played with them. He attempted then to parlay his success abroad into a career as a minor league soccer player stateside. While doing so, he continued to try to find acting gigs, and in 1992 he landed his breakthrough role on Melrose Place. Now, he ended up playing only one soccer match on the professional level as a member of the LA Galaxy, and this happened while he was also a part of the cast of Melrose Place. Before a major injury led him to hang up his cleats or tennis shoes or whatever the fuck soccer players wear.
Cleats, Joad.
Is it cleats? I thought so.
It's cleats.
Okay. So upon leaving Melrose Place 7 seasons later, in 1999, Shue decided his passion for acting was just no longer there, and he jumped on the opportunity to buy his former team in Zimbabwe. And he moved there to not only serve as the owner, but as the head coach as well. In his tenure as head coach, Andrew Shue led the Highlanders to championship titles 8 out of 9 years before turning over the reins to one of his former players. He still owned the team, but decided to devote his attention to his latest career move when in 2012, he accepted the position of the under headmaster at, you guessed it, Founders High School, where he had taught math decades earlier. In 2015, he was promoted to headmaster and remains there to this day. In 2017, he became only the third white man to be inducted into the Zimbabwe Premier League Circle of Honor. Tom, true or false?
That sounds too far-fetched. I'm going to say false.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Yeah, I was going to say, I think if just in terms of like news and things like that, like I think I would have heard that because I do have to pay attention to sports for work. I think that's the only reason
Sure.
why you didn't catch me. All right.
Well,
So what is he doing?
Here's the deal, though. Everything up until him ending his tenure at Melrose Place is legit. He did play in Zimbabwe.
Oh, no shit. I didn't even believe that part. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
no, for the Bulawayo Highlanders. And he did teach high school math at Founders High School in Zimbabwe. All of that. And he was the only white player in the league during that season when they won the championship. That all happened.
Holy shit.
That all
Okay.
happened.
All right. Wow.
See, what I was relying on is that it would be assumed that everything that I say up until we start talking about where they are now would be assumed to be legit. Uh,
Sure. Sure.
so that's where I went wrong. But no, what he's doing now, the truth is, he did quit acting for the most part. He's the last project I think was 2007, and that was like his first one in a decade, and it was just kind of a personal project that he worked on. And a buddy actually started the social networking website Cafe Mom.
What?
For real.
What is Cafe Mom, and why is this guy running it?
Well, I honestly, I was relying on you having heard of it, so you're a little more adept to modern social networking trends. But my wife had heard of it, and has 150 million unique users a month. So it's a thing that where moms gather. Again, it's like a social networking site for moms. He just had an idea, and so did his dude bro buddy, and they are the minds. Yeah, they started up Cafe Mom, and that's how he's doing very well for himself. Is Andrew Shue.
I just looked it up. I just looked up Cafe Mom. Dude, it's like an Instagram for moms. I apologize, Joe. We've known each other for years. I've never pushed a baby out of my vagina.
Yeah, it's true. You have not pushed a baby out of your vagina. But yeah. So I'm part of me, and I toggled with this. Part of me considered giving you the real story and anticipating you'd call bullshit on it. I just was more worried you had known, because again, you're more plugged in when it comes to all things, social, modern technology and whatnot. I thought there was a better chance you might know that that's true, so I took the chance that my out there story might be so crazy it might be true. So bad breaks for this guy.
I will say, you could have done the true one, and I would have thought it was bullshit as well.
Yes.
So, all right, wow, fucking Elizabeth Shue's brother runs Cafe Mom.
Yeah. Now you go.
All right. I also wanted to avoid doing, and you'd be a good one. I wanted to pick. I debated between two, and I may pull the other one out later. So I'm not going to say what that was, but I decided to go with a lady called Fiona Johnson. Are you familiar with this name?
Am not. I am not.
Are you familiar with the movie The Matrix?
I am.
She's the woman in red.
Huh. Okay.
Yep. She's the woman in red.
Got it.
So, Fiona Johnson was born a city girl. However, she was always drawn to the country and especially horses. At age 10, she saved all of her pocket money to buy a saddle at a garage sale. Eventually, after months of nagging her parents, she persuaded them to buy her a horse to go with the saddle, and so began a long love affair of horses and the country life. She eventually moved from the country to the city, and was an extra in the movie The Matrix, and then her final role was in 2003 when she was an extra in Star Wars Attack of the Clones, in the scene where they have everyone running in, and she's in there for like 2 seconds. She just never made it anywhere.
Sure.
So she moved out. She moved to Buffalo, Missouri, and there she met her husband, Matt. Well, unfortunately, tragedy struck shortly after they were married. Fiona was diagnosed with leukemia and was not given very long to live. Well, 15 miles north of Buffalo is a huge Mennonite community. And while she stayed in the hospital for 7 months getting better, she started a relationship with the Mennonites that were volunteering at the hospital. Well, she's currently in remission and is living as a Mennonite now, having converted, having beaten the leukemia. She and Matt have 2 children, and she lives there today and attributes her the fact that she's been in remission after all these years to country life and Jesus. Is this true, or am I bullshitting you?
So if this were true, you would have picked this up on some sort of some kind of a religious site, that's basically, where my faith took me kind of thing, or how my faith saved my life.
Let me put it this way. If it were true, she may have written a book about this. And I'm not going to give you a yes or no to that.
Well, that feels like you're either trying to lead me on to believe it more, or that was just amazing improv right there. God. Such an odd pick. Such an obscure pick. Which is good because obscure picks are less likely I'm going to know if it's true or not, and I certainly don't. But I'm going to guess that it is true.
Ah, yes, I win. I caught up. I caught up. Yes, motherfucker.
Oh,
No. Here's the thing. If I would have told you the truth, you would have called bullshit because I didn't believe the truth.
Oh my God. See, that was the same tact I went with on mine. Well, but I ended up ignoring that impulse, and it worked. It worked for you, didn't work for me. But yes, let's hear the real story.
So everything was true except for her love affair of horses. She also fell in love with the rodeo. And actually, she did get cancer. She did get leukemia. That part's true. She did beat it, but she never got in. And she did move to Buffalo, or she did move to the country. I don't know where. It wasn't Buffalo, Missouri. I don't know where she moved to. But when she beat her cancer, she was determined to fulfill her dream of participating in rodeo events. And shortly after her release from 7 months in the hospital, she decided that was the time to finally learn rope, having have a new lease on life.
Oh my God.
Definitely wanted to be a part of the rodeo world, and after many failed practice sessions, she eventually got the hang of it and went on in 2005 to win the rookie title for ladies breakaway roping. She is now a published author and a stay-at-home mom with her 2 kids and her husband.
Damn. Where did you find this story?
I found it because of her book. I looked her up, and I found it on Amazon.
You looked up her just cold called and figured out how the lady in red from The Matrix. I wonder what she's up to these days.
I looked up the woman in red to find her name, and I was like, I don't know. Did she go on to do anything? No, she didn't. Because I'm like, whatever happened to Lady in Red in The Matrix? Yeah, I started with the Lady in Red in The Matrix and found my way to Amazon and found her book.
That's an amazing, lucky, wow.
Right?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, good for her. All right. Well, you win, I lose. Them's the breaks, right?
Them's the breaks. We're tied up now. We're 1-1.
We are. We're 1-1. Each of us has fooled the other exactly one time in 4 episodes.
I also banked on the fact that you didn't think I was going to lie 3 episodes in a row.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you put so much effort into your other lies, and this one had so much effort behind it. But you know what's crazy is that, like you said, I mean, the true story is less believable. Well, I would say equally as unbelievable as the fake story.
Right.
So it was well played, saw. Well played, saw.
I guess so.
Yeah, saw. All right, let's move on to our original dream project that we're going to be casting this episode.
Yes.
We are doing the Brat Pack. Tom, why don't you let our listeners in on the background of the Brat Pack?
So the Brat Pack has an interesting story in Hollywood lore. It was a nickname that was given to young actors that frequently appeared together, but that's misleading. In coming-of-age films in the 1980s. The first one was, they originally got their name from a New York Magazine article. It was basically to find the cast of 2 specific movies, The Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire. Mm-hmm. Although other actors were sometimes included erroneously or got adopted into it, the core was considered 1, Emilio Estevez, 1, Anthony Michael Hall, 1, Rob Lowe, 1, Andrew McCarthy, 1, Demi Moore, 1, Judd Nelson, 2, Molly Ringwald, and Ali Sheedy in a pear tree. So it was a play on the Rat Pack, which was a name of the 1950s and 60s, mm-hmm. which was the group of people that did that. Now,
that would be like Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., right? That group.
Yes, all that group.
The crooners. They were the crooners.
They were the crooners. Now, here's the thing.
Whereas the Brat Pack are the swooners.
Now, there were a ton of people that were the initial article covered the much larger group, and there were other actors that were mentioned, including Tom Cruise, C. Thomas Howell, Matt Dillon, Patrick Swayze, Ralph Macchio. However, it was always considered that Emilio Estevez of all of them was the ringleader. James Spader was called in as sometimes as a Brat Packer. Robert Downey Jr. was, because he worked with Anthony Michael Hall. Other actors that were included: Kevin Bacon, Matthew Broderick, John Quire, John and Joan Cusack, Timothy Hutton, Mike Schofling, who we talked about, Mary Stuart Masterson, Andy McDowell, Jennifer Grey, Sean Penn, Kiefer Sutherland, Leah Thompson. The list goes on.
Just basically white 20-something actors in the 80s. Yeah.
I brought this up to you, and we talked a little bit about it. I gave it away because I was asking, who are we casting? Because there's a lot of people that were connected with
them. And we can't do them all. We can't. We settled on 6, right? We settled on 6.
We settled on 6, and interestingly enough, one of the people that was considered the core group, Andrew McCarthy, actually was opposed to that and said he never considered himself with that group, and never associated with those guys. And actually, Melissa Gilbert, of all people, felt that she needed to be in the Brat Pack, but she never was.
From Little House on the Prairie?
Yeah, and all those Lifetime movies, Melissa Gilbert.
What?
Yeah. Because she dated and was engaged to both Estevez and Rob Lowe at one point.
Oh.
And weirdly enough, Harry Dean Stanton was considered their mentor because he did a lot of movies with a lot of them.
Wow.
But in truth, now in my research in this, the truth is that core group did not do a lot of movies together.
Right.
That they did. I mean, yes, essentially you had the Breakfast Club with like 1 or 2 people from Same Almost Fire. Outside of that, those guys didn't really work together a whole lot.
Well, Breakfast Club had 5. They were all
members. They were all members
5
of the
of them.
Brat Pack.
Yeah.
So yeah, interestingly enough, they thought of, when you look outside of those 2 movies, there was not a lot of crossover work between those core groups. But people, young actors at the same age that were in other movies with them, like The Outsiders, like Pretty in Pink, like About Last Night, and Oxford Blues, they were considered members of that Brat Pack.
Okay. Well, that gives us a good background. And why would it make a good movie? Exactly. Well, they're interesting personalities. You know, the genres that they kind of pioneered at the time are still super influential today. And there was some scandal. Rob Lowe notoriously had a pretty bad scandal. Faced a statutory rape charge. And drugs as well. I think for many of them was, at least on the periphery.
Many of them, and there was a lot of blow-ups because these were actors that were still fairly young.
Yes.
And they were in the thrones of all this money and all this partying, and they did hang out a lot. That core group did, and you'll remember at the time the Viper Pit was famous.
Yes.
And that was a place where Johnny Depp band used to play. That's the place where River Phoenix OD'd.
Right.
And that was the spot where all these people hung out, and there was so many stories about that.
Right.
Yeah.
You can almost call the movie The Viper Pit and just have the Brat Pack as just your main cast members.
As your main cast, exactly. So there's the story of the Brat Pack. So let's unpack this bitch.
Yes, let's do that. Before we do, I'm just gonna let everybody know ahead of time the people we are casting, so they're not on their edge of their seat, and then we don't get to Andrew McCarthy. Yeah. I don't think anybody's favorite is Andrew McCarthy. That's why I used him as an example.
I loved him in Mannequin. Fuck your face.
We are not casting Andrew McCarthy. I want to lead with that. We're not casting Andrew McCarthy. So ones we're doing Emilio, of course. We're doing Molly Ringwald, Rob Lowe, Demi Moore, Anthony Michael Hall, and Judd Nelson.
Yes.
Who was a late addition, actually. We were just going to do the 5 prior, and then I just reached out to him like, God, fuck it. Should we do Judd Nelson? It's Judd Nelson.
It's Judd Nelson. I love Judd Nelson.
So let's start with our directors. I went first on the last segment in what I wanted for the direction for my film. Let's let you do that first this time.
Sure. So with my vision of the movie, I wanted to go somewhat meta because I love meta. And these were a bunch of actors that were in a coming of age movie life was imitating art for them. So I want to make a coming of age movie about the actors that were in a coming of age movies in a coming of age movie. So, and I thought, there's a director who's been acting since he was a child. I love his brother, and I think he would do this really well. I went with Ron Howard.
Okay. You love his brother. That's one of the few things we've established on this show is your love for Clint Howard. I went in a different direction. I went with a director who is a writer first. He is a director now. His first credited film came out a couple years ago, but he is known for whip smart dialogue and just whip smart dialogue. I mean, he's the king of dialogue. He also works, in stage productions, and it shows. I went with Aaron Sorkin.
Oh, I like Aaron Sorkin. I do like Aaron Sorkin. He is the king of dialogue.
Yeah, and I think with a movie like this, you would have a lot of you kind of need good back and forth because we mentioned a couple, but there wasn't a whole lot of major drama like melodrama moments that are available. So you need to make the characters fun to listen. You got to enjoy listening to them talk and interact with each other. So I need a director / writer that can pull that off.
Yeah. I like that pick. Okay. All right. So who'd you cast for your Emilio?
Emilio Estevez. Okay. So I struggled with this one a bit because Emilio Estevez has got a very distinct look. He's got the sheen. He's got the sheen look, right? Yeah. And if you're going outside of sheen, it's obvious it's not a sheen. So I went with somebody that stature-wise is similar as far as body and stuff like that. Also, is a talented actor, I think, who could go there and make a somewhat convincing Emilio. It's not my favorite pick of these, but I'll stick by it for now. I went with Josh Hutcherson from the Hunger Games franchise and best known maybe as Juice from Future Man.
Yes. I like Future Man. Okay. I went with, again, you have a really good point there. Emilio's a sheen. And he should have kept the sheen name because he's gone the route of just Uncle Joe Estevez and not really getting a lot of work these days. But there's a distinct look to him. And, with each one of my picks, I picked someone that out of the corner of my eye watching something that they're in, I've gone, God, that looks kind of like them.
Sure.
And they're still decent actors. So I went with Alan Leach. And if you don't know who Alan Leach is, he's best known as Tom Branson in Downton Abbey. And I think he's got that Emilio Estevez look to him.
He played the valet, the driver, right? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can kind of see that. All right. We didn't do a very good job of establishing order here ahead of time. I'm coming to realize. So I'm gonna say let's do Molly Ringwald next.
Sure.
That works for you.
That works for me.
So why don't you do yours first?
Sure. So again, I went with a lot of looks because we talked about it like our last one we did with the Late Night Wars. These are famous people. Everyone knows what they look like.
Right.
And there's going to be some makeup work that's going to be done, but you need to have some acting ability in it. I went with Zoe Douche from Zombieland Double Tap.
Douche.
Yeah, Douche, I know.
I gotta look her up. I have not seen Double Tap yet.
Oh, you haven't seen Double Tap?
I have not.
It's not as good. It's not as good. But
yeah,
look her up.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't figure it would be, but, God, the first one, I still remember seeing the first time. And, I was, Woody Harrelson is so great. I could watch him do it again, even if it's just a retread.
That was such a great. The original was lightning in a bottle. Like,
Yeah.
everything just went right, and the fact that they had the dubs in the soundtrack just made it even better.
I think Zoe Deutsch looks like
Joy
would
Deutsch,
be, yeah.
yes,
So, okay. All right, so she is not a natural redhead, it looks like. She's a
no,
brunette.
she is a brunette. You would have to do the red, so
Sure.
that is a mark against me. Who do you got for Miss Ringwald?
I did somebody that we've used before, but I couldn't
Okay.
not because she's just so good. And I think I wanted to do a natural redhead because you know my view. We covered it with Poison Ivy when we did Batman and Robin.
Yep.
I am not a fan of dyeing hair red because you can always tell. But I could not find anybody that I can marry the look and the hair that's a
Okay.
natural redhead that would work for me. I found somebody that I really like the look. I think you're just going to need to add, trust, put extra money into the hair department. Do your best, but her talent will carry the rest of the weight. And I picked the one and only Chloe Grace Moretz
Yep.
again.
Yep.
Again.
Can't go wrong with
You
Chloe.
can't. And
Can't go wrong with Chloe.
she's got, more the kind of the fuller lips, just kind of the look of Molly Ringwald. And I that's really, and her talent, of course, are the reasons why I rested on her.
Fair. Yeah, I like that. I like that pick. And again, I love Chloe, so
Yeah.
there you go. All right. Let's go to Rob Lowe.
Yes.
Let's go to Rob Lowe.
I love my Rob Lowe pick. Love my Rob Lowe pick. I wouldn't be surprised because based on your criteria, this guy looks an incredible amount like a young
I
Lowe.
think we landed on the same
I think we
dude.
did. Is it Dacre Montgomery?
It's not Dacre Montgomery.
Dacre
no.
Montgomery. Billy on
No.
Stranger Things. Billy on
Mhm.
Stranger Things.
Billy on Stranger Things. Yes.
Look,
Yes.
I would, to be fair, I think he looks more like Chad Lowe, a
Right.
young Chad Lowe, but damn, it's to me uncanny. He looks like a young Lowe. I mean, the joke would be we would cast Rob Lowe because the guy never ages, right?
Right. Right. Absolutely. I could cast Rob Lowe to play himself.
But yeah, Dacre Montgomery is my
All
pick
right.
for Rob Lowe.
I went with someone that when I was watching this show, I actually thought it was. I'm like, Rob Lowe looks weird in this movie, or in this show. I went with Ian Somerhalder from Netflix's V Wars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who he is. He was actually his big break, I believe, was Lost.
Yep.
My issue with that and the reason why, well, let's come back. Let's save that for the debate.
Let's save that. Let's save that. Who do you got next? Who do you want to go with?
I'll let you do Demi Moore first.
Okay, I'm not.
Is
entirely
it Demi
sure.
or Demi? Well, are you a Demi or are you a Demi person?
I'm Demi. I'm a Demi.
I'm a Demi too.
I'm a
We should
Demi
have
Moore.
better representation of the Demi crowd, but that's our bad.
Yeah, this I think is the pick that I don't love.
Oh, okay.
Because this was really hard for me because
Sure.
that's a very, very. I mean, Molly Ringwald is kind of distinct, but Demi even more so. I picked Haley Lou Richardson from Split.
Haley Lou Richardson. I gotta look her up.
Yep, I told you were gonna have to look up some of these picks.
No, that's fair, and I still got a couple here that I'm fairly confident. Is Haley Haile, or how are we spelling it?
Haley Lou Richardson. She was in Split. She was Claire in Split.
Yeah, I got her here. Haley Lou. Okay. Huh. Okay. And she's a redhead.
Right. There you go.
Okay. All right.
But she looks more like Demi Moore than she does Molly Ringwald.
My pick, actually, when you said Haley, my heart skipped a beat because I also picked a Haley. My pick is Haley Steinfeld.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yes, and you spell her Haley the way I asked if that's how you spell your Haley, Hailee, Steinfeld.
Oh yeah.
Known from True Grit.
True Grit.
Yeah, her breakout, and then The Edge of 17, which.
Yep. And oddly enough, mine was also an Edge. My Molly Ringwald was an Edge of 17.
Oh, cool. Cool. So yep, that's who I went with. Haley Steinfeld.
Right.
So let's move then to Anthony Michael Hall. I will start. You might want to keep your phone out. So I went with an actor that I really liked big time. He was one of my favorite parts. I don't know if you ever ended up seeing it, but 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Didn't see it.
You didn't? Okay, I
Not yet.
highly
Not yet.
recommend it.
I know. It's on my list of things I
Okay.
have to see.
He was also Banshee in X-Men First Class. His name
Oh,
is Caleb Landry Jones.
yes, yes. So I was kind of surprised. I thought we were going to land on the same Anthony Michael Hall, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because I love this guy when he got his breakout role in Moonrise Kingdom.
Moonrise Kingdom.
Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah.
Lucas Hedges.
Yeah. God, maybe a latter day Anthony Michael Hall, but that guy's kind of buff. I don't know.
He's buff, but you know what though? By the time he was doing Johnny Be Good and Edward Scissorhand, he was already buff.
Early
He had
90s,
buffed up
yeah.
real fast.
You know what's funny is he was also in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I
That
played
doesn't surprise me.
Francis McDormand's son.
All right.
Okay, moving on to Judd Nelson. I'm going to let you start here.
We've picked him before. Timothy Chalamet.
Okay, all right.
I know he's my go-to for a lot of that
Yeah.
bad boy look, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's
so
good. I get it. I get it. I went with a guy you're probably going to need to look up again, unless you're familiar with the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies.
a little bit. My kids watch it.
Okay, Devin Bostick played Roderick in the original Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies.
Let's see.
He was also Jasper Jordan in The 100, the CW series.
Yes, I do know who that kid is. Yes. Okay. All right.
Yep. Okay, let's debate. Let's debate. I got Aaron Sorkin as the director, visionary, and of course, in this case, would be certainly writer of my project. And who'd you have again?
I had Ron Howard.
You had Ronnie Boy.
I love Ron Howard. I love what he does, but I like your direction more, where it's going to have to be more dialogue based.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of, in my head, my vision was, I kind of picked Ron Howard, kind of focusing on them like as a group, like in certain places, and then moving to like different movies that they're working on, and kind of the dynamic between the actors as they're working with each other, and some of the creating some melodrama there.
Okay.
I do love Alan Sorkin though. God, he's so fucking good. I'm going to give it to you. I like Sorkin.
Okay. All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So then we got Emilio Estevez,
Yes.
Josh Hutcherson for me, and
Alan Leach for me. Yep. I like my pick. I like my pick. I think he definitely has that Sheen look, and I can't explain it. Like I said, there's a couple of times where I'm watching that show, and I'm like, God, he looks like Sheen.
I'm actually giving it to you too. Simply because of looks. Because I mean, he's a talented actor. I've seen most of Downton Abbey, so he holds his own against some definite heavyweights. But and I love Josh Hutcherson. But yeah, you figured out, you cracked the code on the Sheen look that I could not. I settled for going, talent and stature, as opposed to like a guy that actually looks like him. I couldn't find it, so I'm going to give you him.
Perfect. So next we had Molly Ringwald.
Yeah.
I had Zoe. You had
Chloe Grace Moretz.
Hey, of course I'm going to give it to Chloe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You put those two in a room together. I'm going to go, Chloe, you got the job.
You're right. Now here's the thing. We got to your Rob Lowe here, and here's what I bit my tongue, didn't bring it up. I worry he's too old. I think he's too old for the part. I think he's got to be at least pushing 40, if not in his 40s.
All right. You know what? I'm not thrilled with what's happening now, but I'm going to give it to you because I have fallen back on that de-aging so much that I can't do it, and I'm going to concede that you're right. He would be better as an older Rob Lowe than a younger Rob Lowe.
Now, I will say, if we were casting this like 10 years ago, he would be a no-brainer choice. Of course, he's got the Rob Lowe look. So if we were, casting mid-90s to late 90s Rob Lowe, I'd be all in. But if we're focusing on the Brat Pack years, you got to have somebody in their 20s. Otherwise, or at least low 30s.
Yeah, I concede to that because Yeah, like I said, the reason why I picked him is the first one that came to mind. I wasn't thinking about older Rob Lowe, thinking about 20s Rob Lowe, and I just like I said when I put on that show, I was like, they got Rob Lowe for this, and then the voice didn't match up, and like I was going through this weird, like I felt like I was having a stroke, like things just weren't connecting. I was like, what is wrong with me right now?
Right.
To find out that it wasn't him at the end.
Right. I hear you. I've had many of those moments watching an actor that's not the actor that I thought they were, and like, what is this? What is this black magic?
Yeah, right. Wait, what is happening here?
Doppelganger! Doppelganger!
Doppelganger!
Demi Moore.
Demi Moore.
Yeah, is our next one here. I had Haley Steinfeld, and you also had a Haley.
I also had a Haley. I had a Haley Lou Richardson.
Battle of the Haleys.
I don't love my pick. I honestly didn't really care for Split, but I was going off the looks again versus talent, and yours has the look, and I think from what I've seen of her, she has the talent. I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah, by God, she has the talent. Like I think she couldn't have been more than like 15, 16 in True Grit, and she held her own against Jeff Bridges and Matt Damon. I mean,
which is hard.
She's super talented.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to our Anthony
Michael Howell. Okay.
Come on down.
I mean, based on, they're both super talented. My only issue with your pick is Lucas Hedges is just that he's in too good of shape. Just saw him in the Honey Boy, the Shia LaBeouf.
Yes. Yes,
movie.
He's going to be, yes. How was that?
It was good. It's worth watching. And he's excellent in it, as he is in everything he's in. That's my only drawback, but I don't know. You could put him on keto, I guess, and get him to go the Bill Skarsgård route.
And the other thing too is, I mean, we're not going to have the budget for it, but I mean, look at what they did to what's his name, Chris Hemsworth,
Evans, and Captain America,
Chris Evans and Captain America.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I think he's. From what I've seen, Lucas Hedges seems like a dedicated enough actor that he would manipulate his body Christian Bale style to.
But I'm gonna give it to you because I don't think you're gonna go that. Yeah, and I'll say why. Because I don't think for the Brat Pack movie you need to do that level of intense things when you got another actor that could fit the bill.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I love Luke Hedges. I love him. I think he's really, really talented. But at the same time, I'm not going to put someone through that on their body for the fucking Brat Pack movie.
You know what? It's you interrupted me in the middle of a concession to concede. That's kind of amazing.
Yes.
All right, I'll take it. Then we got our Judd Nelsons. Oh God, I mean, I love Timothy Chalamet.
He's become a crutch on this show, though.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's become a crutch.
We haven't. It's not like we cast him in a bunch of things. We just keep talking about his projects. Did we cast? Did you casted him in? Or did I cast him in something? No,
you casted him in something.
Oh, I can't remember what. We talked about him as Dylan, and we talked about him as starring in Dune.
Oh, maybe we didn't cast him.
I don't think we casted him in anything.
Okay, then I don't feel so bad. So I'm going to fight a little bit more. Dude, he looks like Judd Nelson.
Yeah. Oh, he does. A little more refined than Judd Nelson. He definitely doesn't have the flary nostrils to the extent of a Judd Nelson, but who does?
Who does?
Yeah, I went more off a bad boy look, which... the guy that played Roderick certainly has got to have. I am gonna give it to you because yours is clearly a better actor. And I've just kind of been kicking your ass on this one.
You have been kicking my ass on this one.
You
already won this one. You won this one hands down.
The more I think about it, we have not used the Chalamet in this contest as much as I think we thought we did. I really don't think we have at all, now that I think back on it. So I'm going to give it to you. I could be wrong. I suppose we'll have that in corrections next episode if we have used him before. But either way, I reuse somebody in one because of it. I can't really penalize you for it.
Fair enough. And I gave you that one, so it's fair.
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, you won this. You won the Brat Pack.
Awesome.
Hands down. There's no question you won the Brat Pack.
All right. That was fun. That was a good one.
That was a good
That
one.
was better than I thought it would be, to be honest with you.
Me too. Me too. And the interesting thing is that I would love to see the movie, but here's my, since we got a little bit of time before we go to the final ad and final thoughts.
Right.
The one thing, we talked about is that there were some drama, but the dramas were more personal, like Rob Lowe's problem,
right?
Ally Sheedy with her mental illness.
Yeah.
My Anthony Michael Hall dealing with being the nerd and then going the exact opposite route, and buffing himself up. Emilio Estevez had a lot obviously going on with his family. So the drama wasn't really between them.
Right.
So I do think this would be a very difficult movie to make, and you'd have to make it a melodrama.
Right.
And you have to add some elements to it. So as much as I love to see it, I know why, looking into the story of the Brat Pack, because I was always like, why don't they make a Brat Pack movie? I just don't know if there was enough there. Now, you throw in the dynamics of the other people, right? We got to think about this, the people we didn't cast.
Right.
You throw Kiefer Sutherland in there. You throw Charlie Sheen in there.
Yeah, Charlie. I mean, we haven't even talked about the bombshell that's like been unleashed on Sheen universe here with the Feldman documentary.
Feldman documentary, but I will tell you, I wanted to watch that last night, and it aired way later than it was supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing about that. I'm glad we're talking about that, and we have a few minutes. I think we should, because that's huge, because we bring up a lot of child actors.
Yes.
If you don't know what Joad and I are talking about, this is an impromptu discussion, by the way.
Yeah, this was not planned.
This was not planned. Corey Feldman has been talking for years and years about the pedophile ring in Hollywood, and has been blocked all these ways, and he was sued. He wanted to put this documentary out 3 years ago and went through a series of lawsuits to get it out. But he basically named a bunch of people that had molested him and Corey Haim. It's called My Truth, The Rape of Two Coreys.
Mm-hmm.
And he outed Charlie Sheen as one of the rapists. Now, here's the thing about that. I thought he was going to pick someone else to name, because he's already named Charlie Sheen on this years ago, and said that Charlie Sheen raped and molested Corey Haim. So that wasn't the big shocker to me. What the big shocker to me was that his agent was molesting him.
Right.
And this guy stayed in the business and mentored a lot of children, and agented a lot of children.
Right. Yeah, that's, I'd say, a more disturbing revelation for sure. And is this agent still in the business? Do we know?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I don't believe he's still in the business.
Because were he still in the business, then I would say then this name should have been dropped a lot sooner. But I mean, maybe it should have. I don't know. That's such a tricky area, and how you never want to tell somebody when they should speak their truth and come out and so it's just, there's a lot of landmines when talking about these kinds of topics, but
there is. And I will say that Corey Feldman has, for years, this has been his big crusade.
Right. Yeah, yes, absolutely. And he claims this was a promise he made to Corey Haim before his death, that he would, vocalize his pain or make it known. I feel like we gotta add, though, Corey Haim's mom claims it's completely fabricated, and
she does.
And there's a whole thing with the Wolf Pack, right? That Corey Feldman believes there's a conspiracy spearheaded by Corey Haim's mom to defame him and actually threaten him physical harm, and it's a lot. I don't know. Maybe someday we'll cast that movie. I don't know, but it sounds there's no lack of drama, whether it's manufactured or otherwise, in that whole story. Like that's a messy situation.
No, it's a very messy story. But I will say that Corey Feldman has outed. He didn't out Charlie Sheen by name in the story. He said there is an actor that was on the set of Lucas that everyone knows that raped Corey Haim.
Right. So this is the first time he actually used Charlie Sheen's name. But everybody already kind of knew. And yeah, that's if I'm not mistaken, Charlie Sheen is actually responded to these accusations prior to this documentary being released. So
correct.
And of course
he knew
denies
he was
it.
going to get dropped. He knew his name was going to get dropped because he knew what Corey Feldman had been saying.
Oh my God! Well, we really brought the tone down here, didn't we? Oh.
We did, but again, it's that Brat.
Yeah,
they were in it. The two Coreys were associated with the Brat Pack.
Yeah, they're kind of like the little brothers of the Brat Pack.
And this was completely. I didn't know he was going to drop that documentary last night.
Right.
As of the podcast of us recording this, the documentary was dropped last night. So it's just one of those things where it just so happened that this came about. I do think that there's some mental illness there with Corey Feldman, but I do think that he believes what he believes.
Right.
And you hear from children, from these people, I mean, how many years did it take for that actor, for that kid that worked with Kevin Spacey to come forward?
Right. Many years. And after he had a fruitful career and everything, and it. Yeah. No, and I mean, and you show me one survivor who doesn't have some sort of mental hangups that they have to work through, and I will be shocked. I don't think that you're going to find anybody. So
no.
So yeah, okay. Well, that story may develop. It who knows what will happen there? But yeah, I mean, I guess adjacent to the Brat Pack talks, it organically happened here on the show. But I guess it in light of that era, it's kind of that dark underbelly that this was also happening. In similar circles. So all that being said, let's try to find our happy faces again, but we're going to first take an ad break, and then we're going to come back and say la vie to y'all.
All Sounds good. Wah, wah.
Wah, wah. We'll be right back. Arrested for a crime he did commit? Better call Danny McNamara, attorney at law. Danny has no moral compass, and he'll do whatever it takes to get you off the hot seat. He'll put the system on trial. Murdered your business partner? Shit happens. The schmuck probably had it coming. Laundered millions of dollars through your travel agency front shop with all the money made through your international drug smuggling dealings? Who hasn't? Danny's got your back. Burned down your money pit of a dive bar to collect the insurance money and avoid financial ruin, only to get caught because of course it was you? Nothing could be more American. If you're in a pickle, call a man who hates pickles. Call Danny McNamara at 1-700-F-the-Law right effing now. That's Danny McNamara, attorney at law. He'll make your boo-boo go bye-bye.
Don't give me your reasons to stay. I won't be listening, babe. Either way.
Oh my God. We did it. We get it. Episode 4 in the books. In the books, Tom.
In the book,
In
bitches.
the books. They've written stories. Oh my God. This was a tough one, man. This one took a lot out of me. We really, like I said when we announced it, man, we swung for the fences here and, left it all on the field, I think. I think we're both pretty proud. We should be proud. We should be proud.
We are. I was so worried going into this one and having come out of it. I'm like, wow, this went way better than I thought it was going to go.
Oh, man.
Although, you got to start being more picky about the people we pick for our ads, bro.
Yeah.
Fucked up ads.
Yeah, I know. I got to start reading them ahead of time, I suppose. I have such confidence that, like, I can read copy and, like, just get it down pat. Like, I don't feel like I need to rehearse. I mean, that maybe is, is something I need to look at changing because, I'm sorry. I got blindsided as much as you did. Man, they really, like, those, I will never trust a cheese grater.
No.
Again.
We should know from history, you never trust a McNamara.
Yeah. Oh, well. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. It's all right. It's all right, bro. You know what? We live and learn, and we'll survive this.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, we will.
We'll survive this.
And an episode 5 is going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yes, it is. Do you want me to throw what I want to do at you, or do you have an idea of what you want to throw at me for something?
I'm going to let you go first.
I would like... Okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you have an idea for a recasting or a contemporary?
I think a contemporary dream project. There's one that we've tossed around that I would really like to take a stab at. It's another challenging one, but I think it's kind of, after doing stuff that's been a little bit, I would say, arguably out of our wheelhouse, I want something that's firmly in it. That's kind of like for us.
All right, good deal. All right, then I have a recasting.
Okay.
I want to pick.
Okay.
It's gonna be Ballistics, X versus Seaver.
Oh my God.
One of the worst movies ever.
It is. I remember I saw that in the theater. I saw it in the theater because there was literally nothing else that looked remotely interesting playing at the time. So it's like, well, it's an action movie with Antonio Banderas and Lucy Liu, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, well, it can't be terrible. It might be dumb entertainment, but whatever. Oh my God. It is there. I'm going to save it for the show, but it's so much worse than one could ever imagine given the talent involved.
And I am looking forward to telling the story about why it's so bad.
Yes, it's got to be interesting. I have to believe, and I don't know the story. This is just my assumption that the talent that we listed there had to not see it, Super Mario Brothers situation where they did not see the crap coming their way or what happened. So that's definitely ripe for recasting.
Don't look it up. I want you to hear the story as I tell it.
No, I won't. I'm gonna it's been so long since I've seen that terrible piece of shit. I'm going to have to refamiliarize myself with aside from the two that we know, the story in general, the other characters that we would be looking at casting, and just to kind of get an idea of what I would want to do with it. But no, I will not look at the history.
And I will have to do the same thing, to be honest with you. So we are both going to sit through a shitty
we suffer for our art. What can you say? We
suffer for the art. All right, buddy. So what is the contemporary you want to do?
Well, the contemporary I want to do is, musical biopics are such a thing these days. Just the Elton John one, which I haven't seen yet, which I'd like to. The Queen one I have also not seen. But there's a band that has a great story, that has so many elements to it, and such a history, a rich history, that was very formative for both of us in our formative years. And that would be Pink Floyd.
Oh, God, I was hoping you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a present to us.
Yes, it's a present for us because we get to cast all four members of the four known members of what would be considered the latter day Pink Floyd, I guess, if you want to call it. I guess that's not, we'll get into the whole story, but we'll
get into the whole story.
Right.
Yes.
The four from the Pink Floyd prime years. And then of course, Syd Barrett, I think will be the fifth. I think we'll stick with those five. I don't think we need to go beyond that. It's easy peasy, but finding actors that we would trust to portray such iconic roles for us, I think it's going to be a test for us to really kind of dig deep and be like, who do we really trust to do these play these roles that we can't see fucked up?
This is going to be another Dune for me in terms of you're going to have to limit me because I can go on for hours about the history of what that band was and what they went through. So
yeah.
You're going to have to really put a governor slip on me when I start rambling through the why we want to cast that movie.
I will gag you. Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, put a gag.
Twill happen. All right. So, yeah. Well, that's exciting. We should probably just plug where people can find us real quick. We are still and will remain to be a part of the jodown.blog. You can catch all of our podcasts there. We also have a YouTube page and a SoundCloud page where we post all these guys at too.
That's correct. You can also find us, SoundCloud, Facebook. We have the Facebook page, so you can talk to us. We manage it with the help of another. So talk to us. Let us know what your thoughts are on the show there. And yeah, wow, fuck.
I think we're still wore out. We're having room fatigue because that was just such a beast to tackle. I'm glad we're going a lot smaller scale next week. So thank you for that choice. I don't think I could handle another white whale.
No.
That was so much. And the Brat Pack too. I mean, say Pink Floyd, pretty much everybody knows Pink Floyd. They know the songs. I would argue not a lot of people are familiar with more than maybe one member of the group.
Yeah, one or two members of the group. Other than that,
Right.
I don't think most people are going to be worried. So I'm not gonna.
I think we have a little more room to work with there, which is good because we need it because we want to get it right. All right. Well, thank you to everybody for listening. It has been fun, as it always is. And we will be back in a couple weeks, in 2 weeks to be exact, when we will be releasing our episode 5. And we know now that it will feature our recasting of Ballistic, X vs. Sever, and our contemporary dream project, The Pink Floyd Story. Thanks for listening. Love every one of you. Share, subscribe, do whatever you can to get us out there. We work hard for this, and we enjoy any feedback that you can provide.
Bye.
Bye!